Ever feel like the tech world, it's changing like every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
1 minute something is like the hottest thing, and then the next it's like, oh yeah, whatever happened to that?
Right, right.
Especially, if you're thinking about getting into coding or like learning a new language or something, it's like, is this even going to be relevant like 6 months from now?
Yeah, you feel like you're always playing catch up, right?
Totally, totally. So today we're going to kind of hit pause on that whole hype cycle, and we're going to explore a language that's not only stood the test of time, but is honestly thriving. Java.
Java.
You want to know if learning Java in 2024 is a good move? Our deep dive says yes.
It's a big yes.
Yeah.
You see, Java, it isn't just still around, it is so deeply rooted in like the core of the tech world.
Right, exactly. We're not talking about some like niche language here. We're talking about millions of web applications like the ones you use every day, probably without realizing they're powered by Java. And it goes way beyond just apps too. Think about like those massive systems that are running behind the scenes that like we don't even think about. How do you think like financial institutions manage all those transactions every single day securely?
Securely, exactly. It's the backbone. And that, my friend, should be music to your ears. Because that widespread use, that equals job security.
Oh, yeah.
Companies rely on this. And they need people who know how to use it, to maintain it, to develop it even further. So there's that peace of mind there.
Okay, so job security is obviously huge. But I've always been curious about this whole thing with Java, write once, run anywhere. I mean, how does that actually work in the real world, and why should I actually care about that?
Okay, so imagine this. You've written some code. In Java, you can take that same code, no changes, and run it on a Windows computer, a Mac, a Linux server, anything. It's like this universal adapter for your code.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to rewrite it every single time for different systems.
Yeah.
That's time saved, that's resources saved, and that's a lot less headaches.
That's amazing. So for someone learning Java, that means you're not stuck, specializing in just one specific thing. You could work on web applications, mobile apps.
Yeah, all sorts of things. You're not pigeonholed. And that's a good thing because the tech world changes so quickly.
Constantly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This way you can adapt. But while we're talking about this, let's not forget a side of Java that's often seen as less glamorous, but honestly, it's where a lot of the money is.
Oh, okay. You're talking about enterprise development, right?
That's right. I know it doesn't sound as exciting as building the next viral app or something.
Right. It doesn't sound like, the Wild West of the tech world, really.
True, true. But this is where the big players are. This is about stability. It's about security. It's about handling tons and tons of data. We're talking financial institutions, healthcare. Even government projects rely on Java because it's that reliable workhorse. If you want to explore that side more, look into things like Spring Boot and Java EE. They're specifically designed for these huge applications.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Now, we can't talk about the future of tech without talking about, like, the cloud and all this excitement around big data.
Of course not. That's the future.
It seems like there are all these new languages popping up every day to kind of like tackle these things. So where does Java even fit into all of that?
It's not just fitting in. It's actually foundational to a lot of these technologies. The tools used for processing huge amounts of data, things like Apache Hadoop and Spark, they're built on Java.
Wow.
And think about the big names in cloud computing. AWS, Google Cloud. They love Java. They embrace it.
So it's like already there.
It's already there.
It's already a part of it. Okay, so Java is everywhere. It's super versatile. It's in high demand, and it's a major player in the cloud and big data.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
But what about learning it, though? What's the learning curve look like? Is it actually a beginner-friendly, or am I looking at like a really steep climb?
You know what one of Java's biggest strengths is? It's community. It's huge, it's active, and it's incredibly supportive. Because it's been around for a while, there is so much information out there for you.
Like, where do you even start?
You can find tons of tutorials, online forums where you can literally just ask questions and people will help you. They've got really good, detailed documentation. You are never on your own when you're learning Java.
That's awesome.
You've got this whole support system right there.
That's really good to know, because I know for me, when I'm trying to learn something new, it can feel really overwhelming if it's like, where do I even go for help?
Exactly, exactly. Java's got you covered there.
Now, I've heard that, and this is kind of a random question, but I've heard that learning Java can actually make it easier to learn other programming languages. Is there any truth to that?
Absolutely, and it makes sense when you think about it. Learning Java, it's like you're learning the fundamental grammar of programming.
Yeah.
Once you get those core concepts down, especially this thing called object-oriented programming, Other languages, like, say, Python or Kotlin, they just make more sense.
Oh.
It's like you've unlocked the logic behind it all.
Oh, that's a really good way to put it.
It's like having a secret decoder ring.
I love that, a secret decoder ring. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here, but I do want to address something because I know some people listening might be thinking, okay, this is great, but aren't there like newer, cooler, faster languages out there? What would you say to those people?
Java has proven that it's here to stay.
Yeah.
And it's not afraid to evolve. They're constantly adding new features, tweaking things. It's adapting all the time.
Yeah.
And you know what? A lot of those so-called newer languages, they're actually taking inspiration from what Java has been doing for decades.
They're like, oh, wait a minute.
Exactly.
They're onto something here.
Java's been the kind of the gold standard in a lot of ways.
So, I mean, bottom line, when it comes to like future-proofing your skills, Java is still a really good bet, even in 2024 and beyond.
Without a doubt. Learning Java is an investment in your future, and I think it's one that will pay off for years and years to come.
Wow. Well, knowing all of this now, I'm just like thinking about all the possibilities. Where do you see like the most exciting opportunities for Java, say, in the coming years? Is it the continued evolution of those really huge enterprise systems? Is it in the world of big data and cloud computing, which we've talked about? Or is it something totally different? Like, we haven't even thought of it yet.
Who knows? That's the beauty of it.
That's a great point. Something to think about. Well, hey, thanks for taking this deep dive with us, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
See you next time.